Hi everyone, Jack from Maths Forge here. In today's lesson, we're going to be doing the lowest common multiples. So let's take a look at our first example. We're being asked to find the LCM, or lowest common multiple, of 3 and 5. So in order to understand what the lowest common multiple is, you first need to understand what a multiple is. And the multiple is just the times table of a number. So in the times table of 3 and 5, what is the lowest number that they share? And for the 1-star examples, it's pretty straightforward. You just write the multiples of 3 and 5. You go up in their times tables until you find a number that is common. So let's go up in the 3 times tables. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Now I know that 15 is also in the 5 times table, so I'm going to stop there. And let's go up in the 5 times tables. 5, 10, 15, and I stop. This is the lowest multiple of 3 and 5 that they share. This is the lowest common multiple. So the answer here I would write down as 15. And if we check our answer, there it is. Let's do a 2-star example. For the 2-star example, I'm going to use prime factor trees to break down 14 and 6 into its prime factors. And then I'm going to use a Venn diagram to collect those factors. So if you don't know how to break down numbers using prime factor trees, check out the lesson on prime factorization. So I'll start with 14, and I'm going to break this down into 2. So I'm going to divide it into 2, and the result will be 7. And I'm going to do the same for the 6. So I'm going to break it down into a 2, divide it by 2, and the result is a 3. Now, I've fully broken down these numbers into their prime factors. What to do next is to draw a Venn diagram, and that looks like this. So we have the left circle representing 14 and the right circle representing 6. And within these circles, we are going to write down the prime factors of 14 and 6. So I can see that 14 has 2 and 7 as prime factors, and 6 has 2 and 3. Since they both share 2 as a common prime factor, I'm going to write it down in the middle here, this middle section here, which they both share. Of course, they share the 2, so the 2 is going to go into the area that they both share. And only 14 has a prime factor of 7, so I'm going to write it down here in the 14 circle. And only 6 has a prime factor of 3, so I'm going to write that down here. Now, once you've written down your prime factors into the Venn diagram, you can now find the lowest common multiple simply by multiplying all of the prime factors that are in the Venn diagram. I should also note that I haven't written down 2 twice because it's shared by both of them. I've only written it down once. And so now if I go ahead and multiply all of the prime factors together in the Venn diagrams, so 2 times 3 times 7, this should give us the lowest common multiple between 14 and 6. So 2 times 3 times 7 is equal to 42. And if we check our answer, there it is. So a lot of the time, students will try and multiply 14 and 16 together and assume that this is the lowest common multiple. This is not true. You can see here that the lowest common multiple is 42, and if you try to multiply 14 by 6, you'd get a number much larger than 42. Let's do another 2-star example. So we're asked to find the lowest common multiple of 8 and 12. So I'm going to break 8 and 12 down into their prime factors. 8 breaks down into a 2 and a 4. And 4 breaks down into another 2 and a 2. And 12 breaks down into a 2 and a 6. And the 6 breaks down into a 2 and a 3. So now I will draw a Venn diagram to represent the prime factors of 8 and 12. And let's see what that looks like. So I can see that they share a 2 as a prime factor. So I'm going to write this one here. They share another 2 as a prime factor. So I'm going to write that down here again. And now there's one remaining 2 left with the 8, but it's not shared with any further prime factors in the 12. So I'm just going to write this down next to the 8 here. And for 12, it has a prime factor of 3 that's not shared with any of the prime factors for 8. So I'm going to write this down here. And of course, to find the lowest common multiple, we multiply all of the numbers in our Venn diagram together. So it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And this should give us 24. And if we check our answer, there it is. The lowest common multiple of 8 and 12 is 24. Let's do a 3-star example. So now we're being asked to find the lowest common multiple of 20 and 24. So I'm going to write down 20 and 24 and break them down using prime factor trees to find their prime factors. So 20 is going to break down into a 2 and a 10. 10 is going to break down into a 2 and a 5. And 5 is a prime number, so it finishes here. 24 is going to break down into a 2 and a 12. The 12 is going to break down into a 2 and a 6. And finally, the 6 is going to break down into a 2 and a 3. So now I'll draw a Venn diagram to represent their prime factors. So it's going to be 20 on the left and 24 on the right. So let's take a look. The 20 and the 24 share a common prime factor of 2. That goes in the middle here. They share another common prime factor of 2. Again, that goes in the middle. And now 20 has a remaining prime factor of 5, which just goes next to the 20 here. And 24 has 2 remaining prime factors, a 2 and a 3, which goes into this part of the circle here that belongs to the 24. And now to find the lowest common multiple, I multiply all of the numbers in my Venn diagram together. So that's going to be 3 2s, a 3, and a 5. So 3 2s, a 3, and a 5. And if we calculate this, this gives us 120. And if we check our answer, there it is. And that's it for the lowest common multiple. So just remember, for 1-star questions, write out the times tables of the two numbers that you're dealing with, and then try and locate the common number that's in both of their times tables. For 2 and 3 stars, use prime factor trees to break down the numbers into their prime factors, and then use a Venn diagram to help you write down the prime factors in such a way that you can calculate the lowest common multiple from the Venn diagram.